I'm John Schmelk, and welcome to another episode of the Giants Huddle podcast. This week, 3 conversations. Victor Cruz has a chance to talk to 3 Giants rookies, DeAndre Baker, Darius Slayton, and Dexter Lawrence. We'll get to those conversations in just a moment. But first, I want to remind you can find the Giants Huddle podcast on Giants.com, the Giants mobile app, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Find it, subscribe, add us to your favorites. And if you're an Apple Podcast and you like what you hear, please leave a 5-star positive review. So Victor had a chance to talk to the 3 rookies about what they learned in their rookie seasons, what it was like for their first year in the NFL, and then the rookies had a chance to ask Victor some questions, draw on his experience, and learn something from a Giants legend. Our first conversation, Victor Cruz with Dexter Lawrence.
What's up? I'm Victor Cruz. I'm here with Dexter Lawrence. All right, first things first, Dex. What are some things that you look back on this season for you yourself to build upon and to get better at going into next season?
I just say being more consistent. Being more keyed into little technique things that that sometimes you just let go when you in the course of a game. Just little things like that. Just very minor things that you don't really pay attention to, but you need to be focused on.
I want to talk about some of your teammates. What are some of the guys, either on the D-line or around the entire team, what are some of the guys that have helped you throughout this process in your first year?
A lot of guys in my room, like Dalvin, Leonard, BJ, I call him Bobby, but RJ, just the older guys, just they helping me in different ways, like even with life things, they helping me with that. So I'll just say they've been positive influences on me.
What'd you learn from Leonard? I know he came in a little later in the season, but he's obviously a guy that's been in the league a few years now, been on the other side of the New York, organization. What are some of the things he came in and taught you, or just something you picked up from him?
Mainly just his experience, little things on the field that, he helped me pay attention to, like different things with the offensive lineman or, just running stuff, like just me and him about to do something without everybody else knowing, just some communication stuff that, helped me through some games and, just life stuff that, we talked about.
Now, as you know, every season, as you will continue to know, obviously, every season has its ups and downs, and you've probably faced that in college and even as far back as high school. As far as those ups and downs, what are some of the things or the bright spots that you can hang your hat on for this season?
Definitely just seeing the improvement each game. We wasn't taking steps back. We kind of was stuck, in some areas, but, the end of the season is here, so we kind of just on the up and up right now, and that's the positive that you see with this team. Like we didn't give up when we easily could have, because we knew we wasn't going to the playoffs. But we just stayed consistent and stayed with our routines, our habits, and just seeing us rise.
All right, now I need a cool story. Give me a memory from this year. What's your funnest memory of this year?
In the room, it's just steady laughter in there. In the D-line room, we cracking on each other, just going back and forth with everything, and just seeing how close we can get so fast. It happens so fast, and just being around those guys, just make me want to come out here every day and go hard for them.
Traditionally, that defensive line room, I remember coming out of the receiver room, and it was like close by. It's like 2 doors down. Anytime I would come out of there and walk by, even if I was getting the water or just walking by, I just hear either commotion, either they're arguing because like, oh, that's a sack, or that's not a sack, or there's laughter because you guys are, and it's always fun to see D linemen just relish in that and be a part of that. So that leads me to my follow-up question. What is the biggest thing that you've learned or the biggest difference that you've seen from college to the professional level?
You're close, but your college boys are your college boys, and I tried to bring that here. That's one thing I tried to just no jealousy, no just healthy competition, and you kind of see that if you just gotta bring it to there. You can't just hope it happen. You gotta go get it kind of deal, because everybody's playing for their family pretty much, and you can get honed in on that, but to win you gotta be one.
So every offseason, I used to pick like one thing to work on, whether it's catching the ball better, or whether it's working on my footwork, or whether it's getting better at, seeing the ball, hand-eye coordination. What's one of the things you're going to work on in your first, offseason as a professional?
Yeah, there's a few things, I've been talking about. Just, being more flexible. Footwork definitely is key in pad level for my position, and there's some things that I'll probably just hone in on for the first few weeks, and then see how that goes. And, just keep adding on.
I'd love for you to play 25 years in this league if you could, and throughout those 25 years, what would you say would be your biggest goal that you want to accomplish individually as a professional?
Just impacting with my play, just showing people how hard I go, and just the unselfishness. Because I'm not playing for myself. I'm playing for my brothers next to me. I'm playing for the people who can't play. Just impacting lives, and just showing them that I'm having fun out there, and keeping a smile on my face.
Now I know you're on the other side of the ball, but talk to me about Eli Manning. Talk to me about just what you learned from him, or your rapport with him, or things he may have said to you. Or things like that. What's your rapport with Eli?
You know him pretty well. He don't say much, but when he does, it's pretty powerful. And I ask him little questions about like just life. Just seeing how he made it so long, and how he kept being consistent throughout his career. And he gave me some little tips that I definitely keep in my mind, and is keep going on it.
Now I can't let you leave without talking about this nickname, right? Sexy Dexy. Yeah. Where'd it come from? Is it self-proclaimed? No. And I seen you on these red carpets. You hold it down. It's a fit. It's real. It's a real thing. Yeah. So is it self-proclaimed or what? What's up?
It started in middle school. Okay. My middle school football coach. First day out there, he said, "Ooh, big sexy Dexy." He Coach Klein. I remember. I was like, okay. Then, the name kept going through high school, and it kind of died down a little bit in college a little bit, but it picked up, and now bringing it back. Hey, I got some questions for you. So obviously you saw my look, my dance moves on the field. That just come from sexy Dexy. So where does salsa come from? Where did that come from?
Oh man, so for those who don't know, I'm half Puerto Rican. So I grew up, my mom is Puerto Rican. I grew up in an extremely Puerto Rican household. And whether it was Monday afternoon, on a random day at 2 o'clock, or whether it's Saturday night, my grandmother was dancing. And she was teaching me dances, teaching me all sorts of dances, right? Not just the salsa, but every dance you could think of. So obviously I'm, honed in on that. My grandmother used to be like, you're gonna thank me for this later when you need girls and you're out in the clubs. Like, you're gonna thank me for this. Because obviously as a kid, you're like, I don't wanna do this. But she was like, you're gonna thank me. And I was like, okay. And then obviously fast forward to the league, I'm kind of thinking about, a celebration or something I could kind of hang my hat on. And one of the coaches came up to me, he was like, you gotta represent your culture in the end zone and do a dance. And I was like, Coach, you're bugging. Like, I'm not, like, I'm an undrafted free agent. I'm just trying to make sure I catch the ball and get out of Dodge. You know what I'm saying? Like, Eli's trusting me to catch this thing and get out of bounds, or don't fumble and do what I need to do. So long story short, I was getting my first start. I told my coach that I'd do it just to get him out my face. And then during that game in Philly, week 3, 2011, never forget it, my first catch that I ever had in that game, took it up the sideline, shook 2 defenders, going in the end zone. I remembered coming across the 1-yard line into the end zone, and I'm like, I gotta do this dance now. Like, I can't not do it. First catch, the whole thing. So I just broke out, started doing it, and then my grandmother, I guess it aired. My grandmother only watched 2 channels, Telemundo and Univision. And I think it aired on one of those networks, and she called me and was like, what did you just do? And I was like, well, I did the salsa you taught me. She was like, for as long as you play in the league, you got to keep doing that dance. And I was like, I'm locked in. Done.
It's good stuff.
Appreciate it.
That's Big Dex talking to Victor Cruz. Now let's go to a player that plays the same position that Victor Cruz did when he was with the Giants. 5th-round pick, Darius Slayton.
All right, so I'm Victor Cruz. I'm sitting here with rookie sensation Darius Slayton. Just want to ask you a few questions about the season and get your thoughts, man, okay? So first and foremost, looking back at this season, what are some of the things you feel like you can build on?
Just, starting to get more aware in my game, add some more nuance to my game, things I'm learning from guys like Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard. Golden's kind of, towards the back end of his career, so he uses a lot of more of, subtle things to get open as opposed to just raw athleticism. So I definitely know that's something I have to add to my game.
Is Golden Tate one of those guys that you leaned on this year to kind of just gain knowledge and gain the nuances of the game because he's seen so much?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, questions, and also just having a chance to watch him play and practice. I get to learn things just from watching them.
What's one of the biggest things you learned? I know this is, your rookie season and you had some injury early on, but once you got things going, you really picked it up. What was one of the things you learned about yourself coming from when you initially got drafted here and up until this point now?
Just that, I could stay engaged and focused. Normally I've always been on the field all the time. So, being out in the preseason and then not knowing how much I was going to play during the regular season, There's just a lot of doubt there, especially when you're not used to being a guy that has to worry about those kind of things. So just that I can stay focused and, be present.
Okay, so you've shown that you got hands, right? You've shown that you got some wheels, and you've shown that you have the temperament to play in New York City. So what are some of the things you need to work on? What are some of the things in the offseason that you're going to be cued in on to work on to be better for next year?
I think I've been better at certain things than what people expected, but I can still improve. Like I said, my route running, even still, I don't think any receiver should ever stop working on their ability to catch the ball, because obviously that's the most important thing we do. So definitely want to work on those kind of things in the offseason.
In your opinion, what's the biggest thing or the biggest difference from college level football to the pros?
Just the mental aspect. You come across some guys on Sundays that are just smart. It's like they already know what you're doing before you're going to do it. And you just have to be really keyed in on making everything look the same. And anything you give away, it's kind of like, going to court of law. Like anything you say can be used against you, kind of thing. So just got to be really subtle in all your movements.
Okay, so this is your first off season as a professional football player. What's going to be your off season regimen? Are you going to link up with guys, work out? Are you going to take some time off? What's your plan?
Definitely take some time off first. Just sit down somewhere for a little bit, let my body heal, relax, and then hit the ground running, training. Probably it's always, in my opinion, it's better to train with at least 2 or 3 other people, because by yourself it's just a grind. But get some training in and get myself ready for OTAs.
One thing I want to talk about before we wrap things up here is Eli Manning, right? You've obviously understood his career, and you've got to play with him. What do you think is, tell me what you learned from Eli Manning, and then secondly, just what does it feel to catch a receiving touchdown from Eli Manning, a potential Hall of Famer?
How to be a pro, I'd probably say, is the biggest thing I learned from Eli. I think if of all of his years of great, if this year, he sat for weeks, and then came out against Philadelphia and lit it up, so that's just a testament to, a true professional is always ready. He was never checked out or anything like that. He was ready to go, and obviously showed that when he had his opportunity to play.
Yeah, that's true. I think one thing I could say for Eli, he's always the consummate professional. No matter what's going on, around him or with the team, he remains professional. So switching gears a little bit, Daniel Jones, you guys have created a rapport unlike anything other this season. It shows his confidence in you. It shows that he trusts you to make a play. Whether it's third down or whether it's a moment in the game where the Giants need a big play to be made. It seems like you were always the guy that kind of rang that bell for Daniel Jones. Just talk to me about you and Daniel's rapport and how you guys have gotten along throughout the season.
I think it just kind of came organically. We both came in rookies together from literally rookie minicamp all the way till now. We've kind of always been repping because we were both second team, third team, and then as we both kind of worked our way to the first team, those two kind of paths kind of aligned. So we were always, repping together in practice, played together in games, and then obviously now we have almost a season's worth of games together, and I think it's been really key to our success. Probably one of the biggest questions I want to ask you is when you first started having your success, what gave you the confidence that you could become as big as you became?
Well, I think what gave me the confidence, it was just my teammates, right? I didn't have teammates that were like, oh, he's a free agent, or he's just a young guy. Let's try to downplay his abilities or keep him to the wayside or not uplift each other. I think they were behind me 100%. And once they saw that I was doing good things and putting good things on film and making plays out here on the practice field, and then that transferred over to the game field, they were like, okay, this kid's for real. Let's bring him into the fold. And that confidence from my teammates is one thing to get it from your coaches and you're doing things well, but when you're in that meeting room or in the locker room, to get it from your peers and your teammates was a whole different feel.
How did you adjust your game? Once you felt like other teams started to, obviously once you become number one guy, teams start to try to stop you. So how did you adjust your game once you felt like other teams were scheming to stop you?
I think the biggest thing was understanding schemes and understanding coverages, right? And not just, coverages when it's just a 2 shell or 42 or just cover 4. It's understanding okay, I'm watching film on a guy like Des Bryant who's gonna get double teamed, right? And no matter where they put him at on the line, they shadow a guy or they got a safety over the top. So I used to study how teams double team players and how to just beat that. And I would go to coach, our offense coordinator at the time, and just show him things that I was looking at. He'd show me things, and we just dissected, and we just came up with a plan. And obviously playing the slot, you get that opportunity to kind of be all over the place and not really let teams key on you. And we just, came up with a plan and was great. And obviously I had, other receivers on the team to take some of the pressure off me too, so it was good.
When y'all started your Super Bowl season, midway through the year, did you feel like y'all were gonna win the Super Bowl at the end of the year? Or was it kind of like, we're a pretty good team, but, not sure?
No, it was, the Super Bowl, it was always something that we thought about. It was always something that was our goal. But I think there was just some low. Throughout the season, there's always ups and downs. As you know, this is your first year. There's ups, there's highs, and there's lows. We went through a skid where we lost 4 straight in the middle of the season, and we didn't know what was going to happen. But we knew that we controlled our destiny, and we knew that we had a core group of guys that could battle through anything. And as long as we knew that and anchored each other, we were such a family. We would be in packs of like 15 going places just to eat dinner. And it was like, okay, these guys are a real family. This is bigger than just on the field or in the locker room. And I think that really paid dividends because we were out here playing for each other. It wasn't even about winning, losing. It was like, if I'm out here with Ahmad Bradshaw, I'm fighting for him. If I'm out here with Eli, I'm fighting for him. Defense, same thing. So understanding that it just helped us, week in and week out. And then once we hit our stride, we just hit the ground running and never looked back.
Now let's go to first-round pick DeAndre Baker. Victor talked to DeAndre about what his rookie season was like, but then it gets very interesting at the end when DeAndre Baker tries to pick Victor Cruz's brain about what he looked for when he scouted opposing cornerbacks when he was an active wide receiver with the Giants.
So what's up, everybody? I'm Victor Cruz, sitting here with DeAndre Baker. First and foremost, I just want to get right to it. Coming into this season, what's the biggest thing that you wanted to build upon, from the beginning of the season all the way through?
Just the mental part of the game, just learn how to break down film, tendencies of the receiver, just, learning from the older guys, things help my game.
Talk about some of them older guys. What are some of the guys that kind of helped you along the way, kind of get better and kind of, help you throughout your journey of this year?
Oh yeah, AB and Tom Bethea, Jack Rabbit, Mike Thomas. Just helped me break down the film in different ways, play different techniques, stuff like that. So it helped me big time.
What are some of the things you learned? Obviously this season for the entire team was kind of up and down. What are some of the things you learned about yourself, whether it's technique-wise, whether it's something personal, whether it's something that one of your teammates taught you? What's something you learned about yourself throughout this year?
That I could play on this level, I ain't never questioned it, but throughout the season, it just kind of like, I really know I could do this.
So we know you get, you put the clamps on guys. We know you break on the ball. What are some of the things you can improve upon in this offseason, your first, football offseason as a professional? What are some of the things you're going to work on?
I'd probably say just better technique to get in better position and get interceptions other than PBUs and stuff like that.
What's the biggest difference for you from the college level to the pro level?
I'd probably say the QB timing, ball coming out way quicker than college.
Yeah, and what do you plan to do to kind of, in the offseason, to get better at that, to kind of see the ball coming out, read your keys a little faster? What are some of the things you're going to do to improve?
Just learning how to read the quarterback tendencies, read and run pass, things like that to help me react quicker and be a step better in my game.
Who are some of the guys that, if you had to compare your game to somebody else, whether it's an older player or just some of the great, corners that have played the game, who would you say you model your game after?
Definitely Patrick Peterson. I like how he played the game. And Xavier Rhodes, those 2 guys, I really like how they play the game.
What's your biggest goal as a professional? Whether you play 100 years in this league, what is the one thing you want to accomplish as a professional athlete?
I want to be a Hall of Famer, but most of all, I want to make Pro Bowl, so biggest thing so far.
What's your off-season regimen going to be like? Obviously, your first off-season as a professional, what are you going to do? You're going to train with guys, you're going to take some time off. What's your plans?
I'm going to take some time off first, for like first couple weeks. Then I'm going to get back to it, start working out back at home. Okay, can I ask you a few questions? What were some things you used to watch for like when you were studying film on cornerback?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things I used to watch was for tendencies, right? So like if they're impressed, does he have a tendency to like look inside the ball a lot, or was he like looking at my hips? Was he a hips guy, or was he like a head guy? Some guys trying to look at your chin. And I knew if you was a chin guy, I could shake you all day and get my releases off the line. Yeah. But if you were a waist guy, I had to really do some work at the line to make you think I was going one way and going the other way. So I just looked at little tendencies and things that corners used to give up And then if you were a press guy, press bail. I kind of would just always kind of look and see, what kind of guy you were, especially from press, because I used to get a lot of press in that slot. They're always trying to disrupt the routes and things like that and disrupt the timing. So that's one of the things I used to look for.
So, like, say cornerback and off coverage, what was your mindset of getting open and things like that?
So if I saw him in off coverage, first things first is close that cushion. I got to get up on him quick, so he got to make a decision. He don't know which way I'm going, so I just attack him straight until I see that he's in panic mode, right? That he don't know where I'm going. And then I usually at that point, I'll stem him up, get to the top of my route, either snap it across or just fly right past him and go straight. But first things first was closing that cushion so he won't have an opportunity to put his foot in the ground and see which way I was going.
At the catch point, how would you, like, with your eyes? I see different receivers, they'll probably just, the ball will be coming, their eyes will get big, or some guys just have a regular face. Like,
the biggest thing for me, I definitely was a big eye guy. Like, I was always like, oh, here it comes. But I would always make sure, so I would do things like this, right? So I would, even when times where I wasn't getting the ball and it was run away from me, I'll run a route, or I'll run like a 10, 12 yards and then act like the ball was coming, and then DB be jumping up and down, So I'd use that every now and again to where there'd be a time where he'd think I wouldn't be getting the ball, but I'd really be running a route, So I do that sometimes. But the biggest thing for me was just late hands. Like if it's a deep ball or if it's a ball, even across the middle, I used to wait to that last moment to just reach my hands out there and grab it, because, that's what guys like you are looking for, waiting for you to throw your hands out there and play through the hands with the ball.
so what were some things that DBs did that you didn't really like that much?
I just hated long arm guys, like guys like Ike Taylor. If you lined up and you got your arms down and they scraping the grass, and I'm just like, damn, these long arms is gonna give me trouble today. So I knew that I had to be, diligent with my releases and make sure I was disciplined in what I was doing, because one false move, that right hand get in my chest is over. I mean, whatever route I had, it don't even matter no more. So I just always tried to make sure that I was diligent with my releases, especially against long arm guys. I hated guys with like super long arms.
So who you say, like, throughout your playing career, like your biggest matchup, like every time y'all win against each other, you'll be like, all right, I know I got to bring it today. I'm bringing my all for him this week.
My biggest matchup was it was a couple guys obviously throughout my career. Ike Taylor was one. He always talked junk. We always had healthy conversation out there on the football field. But one of the guys was Carlos Rogers. I think he was the guy that we just had healthy battles. Remember, he had an interception on me one time and got up and did the salsa, and I was kind of hot about that. And I wanted him back. And luckily for us, we played him again in the NFC Championship game, and I got my revenge a little bit. We won that game. I played well. Eli played phenomenal. And then that game obviously brought us to the Super Bowl. But between Carlos Rogers, Ike Taylor, guys like Darrelle Revis, Pat P, of course, those are all guys that I like. I was, licking my chops to get after those guys because they were the best. And you always want to go against the best and always want to match up your talent. So those guys always set the mark for me.
So, like, once you figured out you was like, all right, I'm good, like you like separated yourself like from the average receiver in the league, what you did to like separate yourself from the good receivers and like become one of the best?
I just worked, man. I mean, there was opportunities. There was always a moment for me to work, whether it was in here catching jugs when nobody's looking, or during my off-season program and getting right and working with guys like Larry Fitzgerald, doing different types of workouts, surrounding myself with the greats, right? Surrounding myself with the Odells and the ABs, and like Eli used to bring us out and do a little pass camp with us. Like surrounding myself with guys that are that great, so you understand what they think and how they think and what they do, taking little things from them, right? Taking little things at the top of the routes. Like, I'm taking things from everybody. And don't think for 1 second they wasn't taking something from me too. So that was one of the things I did, was make sure I ask questions when I need to, but pluck things from the great ones, because they'll help you in the long run for sure.
We thank DeAndre Baker and our other two rookies, Darius Slayton and Dexter Lawrence, for joining Victor Cruz on the Giants Huddle podcast this week. You can find the Giants Huddle podcast on Giants.com, the Giants mobile app, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Find us, subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts and you like what you hear, leave a 5-star positive review. It would really help us out, and we would appreciate it. Thanks for being with us. You can find all the Giants podcast offerings at Giants.com/podcast. That's all the time we have for the Giants Huddle podcast. For Victor Cruz, DeAndre Baker, Dexter Lawrence, and Darius Slayton, I'm John Schmelk. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Hey Giants fans, Saquon Barkley here. You want to see more videos? Subscribe below.